You ever think you've got someone all figured out, and then they completely blindside you in the worst way? That's what happened to me. Except this time, I was the one who delivered the shock. I'm Cassie. I'm 26. And I need to tell you about the night I ruined what could have been the best relationship of my life with one reckless sentence. At the time, I thought I was being upfront. I thought I was showing maturity. Instead, I sat there and watched 2 months of something beautiful collapse in front of me. And to this day, I can't tell if I was truly wrong, or if he just couldn't handle what I had to say. When I met Tyler, I wasn't looking for anything serious. I was working at a small health clinic doing paperwork, trying to pay my bills and sort out my future. Tyler was in construction management. I never paid much attention to the details. He was usually covered in dust when he showed up to see me anyway. But there was something about him that immediately threw me off balance. Our first date was supposed to be simple. Just coffee at this quirky little spot downtown with mismatched chairs and way too many plants. I figured we'd talk for an hour, maybe stretch it into lunch if it went well, and then I'd never hear from him again. That's how it usually went for me. But Tyler was different. He actually listened when I talked. Like, really listened. I ended up doodling on a napkin, this goofy cartoon of him with boots and a hard hat. When I slid it across the table, his face lit up like I'd just handed him a prize. He folded it carefully, slipped it into his wallet, and swore he'd keep it forever. Coffee turned into 3 hours of laughing about everything and nothing. When the barista started wiping down tables aggressively, we finally got the hint and left. Tyler walked me to my car and asked if he could see me again. Not in a clingy way, but with this genuine hopefulness that felt refreshing. After that, things moved quickly. Tyler had this routine of calling me around 10 p.m., right after his shower, while he was winding down. We'd talk about random stuff, what we ate, weird things from work, weekend plans. Sometimes I'd fall asleep mid-conversation. In the morning, I'd wake to a text saying he'd stayed on the line, listening to me breathe because I sounded peaceful. Before long, weekends were automatic. Friday night movies, Saturday morning breakfast runs, Sunday afternoons sprawled across his couch. He lived in this tiny apartment above a pizza shop that always smelled like garlic and oregano, but somehow it felt more like home than my own. Being with him was easy. No games, no guessing, no drama. He was straightforward with his feelings, which was both refreshing and intimidating. He'd call me beautiful when I rolled out of bed with messy hair and smudged makeup. He remembered small things I'd mentioned weeks earlier. But here's the complication. I wasn't completely free for what Tyler was offering. There was Austin, my ex. The one who strung me along for nearly a year before we split for a good 6 months earlier. Austin was everything Tyler wasn't. Unpredictable, exciting, emotionally closed off, and terrible for me in all the ways that made him addictive. We had this toxic rhythm. Break up dramatically, stay apart for weeks, then slide back together through late-night texts when we were lonely. It always ended the same way, messy, intense, and empty. Even as I was falling for Tyler's steady kindness, Austin still had his hooks in me. I told myself it wasn't cheating because Tyler and I hadn't defined anything yet. We were still casual, still figuring things out. That was the lie I leaned on whenever Austin's name appeared on my phone. The truth was, I liked having both. Tyler gave me safety and care. Austin gave me fire and chaos. I knew it wasn't fair. But I also wasn't ready to let go. The last time I saw Austin before it all blew up was just 3 days before Tyler's big question. Austin texted me at midnight on a Wednesday, drunk and sentimental. I should have ignored him. I should have remembered that Tyler had spent that evening helping me put together a bookshelf. But instead, I drove to Austin's place at 1 a.m. It was the same as always, passionate, intense, and hollow. He whispered all the things I wanted to hear about missing me, about doing things differently this time. I knew it was all lies. But I lied to myself too, pretending I had a reason to be there. I left feeling empty. On the drive home, Tyler called, checking if I'd made it back safe from my supposed girls' night. His voice was soft, sleepy, and full of care. He told me he missed me, even though we'd just seen each other that afternoon. For the next few days, I overcompensated. Cooking dinner at his place. Meeting his co-workers at a barbecue. Helping him pick a birthday gift for his sister. I was desperate to convince myself Tyler was everything I wanted, that I could push Austin out of my life for good. Then came the night everything shattered. Tyler made spaghetti and meatballs. Simple, but thoughtful, and better than anything anyone had ever made for me. Afterward, we were curled on his couch, my legs draped across him, some mindless comedy playing. He turned to me, serious and nervous, muting the TV. His hand traced circles on my palm as he said my name. Cassie. I've been thinking about us. About where this is going. I know we haven't had the talk yet, but I want you to know I haven't seen anyone else since our second date. And I'd like us to be official. Exclusive. His words hung heavy in the air. His eyes were vulnerable, searching. This was exactly what I should have wanted. Commitment, loyalty, love. But instead of joy, I felt panic. My chest tightened. All I could think about was Austin. About being with him just 3 nights earlier. About how Tyler deserved honesty, and how I'd been lying by omission. And instead of giving Tyler the answer he deserved, I said the one thing guaranteed to break us. Can I sleep with my ex one last time? The words slipped out before I could stop them. The moment they left my mouth, I wanted them back. But it was too late. Tyler's face shifted through confusion, hurt, anger, and then this quiet sadness that broke me in half. What? He whispered, like maybe he'd misheard. I think I need closure, I stammered. It's not about you, Tyler. You're amazing. I have this unfinished chapter with Austin, I admitted, my voice shaking. And I honestly think if I just... Are you serious right now? Tyler cut in. His voice was low, but there was a sharpness I'd never heard before. You're sitting here asking me if you can sleep with your ex before we make this official? I'm trying to be upfront with you, I said quickly. Deep down, a twisted part of me believed I could have just agreed to exclusivity, done what I wanted anyway, and he'd never know. But I wanted to tell him where my head was. He stared at me, silent, processing every word. Then came the question I'd been dreading. When's the last time you were with him? I hesitated. And that pause said everything I didn't want it to. Cassie, he said, firmer now, don't lie to me. When? A few months ago, that's what I wanted to say. But it caught in my throat. Try again, he said flatly, his warmth completely gone. And for some reason, instead of sticking to my lie, I told him the truth. Last week, I whispered. Wednesday night. Tyler froze. I could see him piecing it together, recalling the timeline. Wednesday, he repeated slowly. The night I helped you with that bookshelf. The night I called to make sure you got home safe from your so-called girls' night. I nodded, my throat dry. So, while I was worried about you getting home, you were actually in bed with your ex. His voice cracked, but it wasn't a question. Tyler, please, let me explain. Explain what? He was on his feet now, pacing. Explain how you've been stringing me along? Explain how I was just the backup plan while you kept testing the waters with him. It's not like that, I said, though even I knew it kind of was. Then tell me what it is, Cassie. Because from where I'm standing, it looks like you kept me as your safe option while you waited to see if he'd take you back. I wanted to fight him, to argue, but no words came. He was right. That's exactly what I'd been doing. I care about you, I said weakly. What we have is real. Real. Tyler let out a laugh with no humor in it. Real would have been telling me about Austin from the beginning. Real would have been making a choice instead of dragging me along. Real would have been not sleeping with him 3 days ago and then sitting here asking permission to do it again. Tears welled up in my eyes. I'd always relied on crying to soften the blow when I was cornered. But not this time. Don't, Tyler said, putting a hand up. Don't start crying and make this about how sorry you are. You've been making your choice for weeks. You just didn't want to face it. I haven't chosen anything, I sobbed. That's why I wanted to be honest about needing closure. Closure. His voice rose, sharp and angry now. You want closure? Fine. Here's closure. We're done. Go figure things out with Austin. But don't ask me to sit around waiting while you do. Tyler, please. No, he cut me off. His tone was final. I thought I knew you, Cassie. I thought you were different. But you're just like every other girl who can't let go of the guy who treats her like garbage because he's exciting, and I'm boring. You're not boring, I cried desperately. You're the best thing that's ever happened to me. If that were true, you wouldn't have slept with him last week. And you wouldn't be asking me if you could do it again. He grabbed his keys from the counter, his jaw tight. I'm going for a drive. I want you gone when I get back. And then he was out the door, leaving me alone in an apartment that still smelled like the dinner he'd made for me just hours earlier. The next morning, I woke up with a heavy, sick feeling in my chest, the kind you get when you know you've ruined something for good. My first instinct was to call Tyler, to try to fix it. But when I dialed, it went straight to voicemail. He'd blocked me. That weekend, I swung between anger and regret. Part of me was furious that he couldn't handle one honest conversation about where I stood. What kind of man walks away instead of fighting for someone he claims to love? But the other part of me, the part one didn't want to admit to, knew I'd destroyed something that couldn't be repaired. By Monday, I convinced myself he'd calm down, and we could talk like adults. I drove to his worksite at lunch, hoping seeing me in person would remind him what we had. I spotted him easily in the temporary office trailer, leaning over blueprints with 2 co-workers. When I knocked, he looked up, and his face was blank. Cold. Can I help you? He asked, voice polite, professional. Like I was a stranger. Tyler, can we please talk? I asked, my voice trembling. I'm working, Cassie. He didn't even look up again. And there's nothing to talk about. 5 minutes, I begged. Just 5 minutes to explain. His co-workers shifted uncomfortably before slipping outside, leaving us alone. Tyler finally looked at me then, his expression hard. You want to explain? Explain what? How you lied to me for weeks. How you planned to keep lying if I hadn't asked about exclusivity. I was trying to be honest, I shot back. I could have just said yes to being exclusive and kept doing whatever I wanted behind your back. But I didn't. I told you the truth about where my head was. He studied me for a long moment, and then his expression shifted. Not angry anymore. Just disappointed. You actually believe that, don't you? He said quietly. You really think asking permission to sleep with your ex counts as honesty? I wasn't asking to cheat, I argued. We weren't exclusive yet. Tyler nodded slowly. You're right. We weren't exclusive. So tell me, Cassie, how many other guys were there while we were not exclusive? Because from what I can tell, it was just Austin. Which means this isn't about keeping your options open. This is about you being unable to let go of someone who treats you like nothing. He doesn't treat me like nothing, I whispered, though even I didn't believe it. Doesn't he? Tyler snapped. When's the last time he took you out? Introduced you to his friends? Made actual plans with you that didn't involve a 1 a.m. text? I had no answer. Because we both knew the truth. Austin had never done any of that. Exactly, Tyler said coldly. So don't stand here pretending this was about honesty or maturity. This was about you choosing chaos over stability. Drama over peace. And the worst part? You're addicted to it. That's not fair, I said. But even as the words left my mouth, I knew how empty they sounded. You know what's not fair? Tyler was on his feet now, his anger sharp and unfiltered for the first time since I'd known him. Not fair is letting me fall for you while you were still tangled up in someone else. Not fair is making me believe in something that was never real. It was real, I argued. What we had was real. If it was real, you wouldn't have had to think twice about choosing me. If it was real, you wouldn't have been with Austin last week. If it was real, you wouldn't be standing here trying to convince me that asking to sleep with your ex is some kind of courtesy. So that's it. 2 months together and you're just throwing it away over one mistake. Tyler let out a laugh that was all bitterness. One mistake. Cassie, this wasn't one mistake. This was a pattern. You've been choosing him over me from the start. I was just too blind to see it until you laid it out for me. When he finally walked out, I did what I always did, ran straight back to Austin. He opened his door and found me crying, and of course he pulled me in. He wasn't invested, not really, but he was comforting in the way he always had been, saying the right things without offering anything real. "Tyler sounds like he's got control issues," Austin said, running his fingers through my hair. "Any guy who can't handle you having a past isn't worth your time." "That's what I told him," I sniffled. I was trying to be honest, and he made me feel like a monster for it. "You're not a monster, babe," Austin murmured. "You're human. Humans are complicated. If he can't handle that, it's his loss." So I slipped back into the old pattern with Austin. It was familiar, easy, comfortable, because he didn't ask anything of me. There were no expectations, no pressure. But even while I tried to bury myself in the chaos, I couldn't stop thinking about Tyler. The little things. His good morning texts. How he listened when I talked about work. The way he made me feel safe. Within 3 weeks, the cracks with Austin showed again. The chaos that once felt thrilling just felt draining. He was still the same, charming when he wanted something, distant when he didn't, never dependable. Every careless moment of his only highlighted the way Tyler had treated me. When I got the flu, Austin's response was a single text. "Okay, feel better." No calls, no offers to bring soup. Nothing. And all I could think about was Tyler sitting beside me through food poisoning, making sure I was okay. 3 months after losing him, I made the mistake of checking Tyler's social media. A photo stopped me cold, him at a lake house, smiling with a girl named Brooklyn. His arm around her, her feet tucked under her as if she belonged there. The caption read, "6 months with this amazing woman. Grateful for second chances and new beginnings." 6 months. Which meant he'd started seeing her almost right after we ended. I got drunk that night and sent him a long, rambling apology. I told him I still loved him, that I'd do anything to fix it. He never replied. Instead, the next morning, I got a text from Brooklyn. "Tyler showed me your message. Please stop contacting him. He's moved on. You need to respect that." Meanwhile, Austin and I were unraveling fast. He bailed on our plans, snapped when I brought up Tyler's name, accused me of being just like his ex. A few weeks later, I discovered he'd been seeing his ex, Rebecca, the entire time. She showed up to his apartment with a key and a cake, expecting to surprise him for his birthday, only to find me there too. The truth came out in one humiliating rush. Austin had been stringing us both along. Rebecca and I looked at each other, realizing we'd both fallen for the same lies. "You know what the worst part is," she said quietly as we left. "We both deserved better. But he convinced us we didn't." That night I sat in my apartment, surrounded by silence, and the weight of it all hit me. I'd lost Tyler, the man who would have loved me with loyalty and honesty, for someone who had never really been mine. 14 months later, fate twisted the knife. I walked into the same coffee shop where Tyler and I had our first date. There he was, across the room, sitting with Brooklyn. They looked effortless together, sharing the newspaper, laughing softly, her wrapped in his jacket. It was the kind of quiet intimacy I'd always craved but never managed to hold on to. Tyler noticed me. For a moment, we just stared. Then he whispered something to Brooklyn, kissed her forehead, and walked over. "Cassie," he said. "Hi," I managed. "You look good." "So do you," I said, and I meant it. He looked settled. "Oh." We talked for a minute. I told him about therapy, about working on myself. He listened, kind as ever. "I'm glad you're getting help," he said. "You deserve to be happy. You just didn't know how to let yourself be." The past tense landed heavy. Deserved, not deserve. "I know that now," I said quietly. "Too late. But I know it." "It's not too late," he said gently. "Just too late for us." I nodded toward Brooklyn. "She makes you happy." "She does," he said, his whole face softening. "She's everything I didn't know I needed." I swallowed hard. "I want you to know that I'm sorry. Not because I want you back. Just because I am. I'm sorry I hurt you. I'm sorry I couldn't see what we had when we had it." "I know," he said finally. "And I forgive you. I forgave you a long time ago. I had to. Holding on to anger would have kept me from being happy with her." As I turned to leave, he stopped me. "Cassie," he said, his voice steady. Don't settle for less just because it feels familiar. You deserve real love. Don't forget that. I sat in my car afterward, crying, not just for losing him, but for seeing so clearly what he'd found. A love built on trust, consistency, peace. The kind of love I'd thrown away because I didn't know how to choose it. Maybe someday I'd find that too. Someone who chose me without hesitation. Someone I could finally choose back. It was the hardest lesson I'd ever learned, but one I'd carry with me forever. When you choose chaos over love, you lose both. Tyler was happy now. Truly happy in a way he never had been with me. That truth stung, but it also shattered the illusion that there was still a way back for us. He'd moved forward, found someone steady enough to give him what I had been too fractured to offer. Our chapter had closed, not with a fight, but with time, distance, and the weight of my choices. But my story wasn't finished. It was shifting into something else, the slow work of learning to love myself, to believe I was worthy of the kind of love that didn't break me. Tyler's part in my life had ended, but mine was still unfolding, toward someone new, someone real, someone I could finally meet as the whole version of myself.